So UK rapper Chino has been jailed for 4 years after being convicted of fraud-related charges relating to selling fake COVID vaccine passes. Let's get into it. I'll show you like what I'm going. So first of all, this is the article. Daily Mail reported this. Three NHS admin workers who made 412k selling fake COVID-19 vaccine records during down, lockdown are jailed for 10 years. So it says here a trio of NHS workers, 412k, Hakeem Waters, Rocky Ball Islam, and Mohammed Ahmed made their fortune while employed as administrators in Westfield. They falsified 847 records for people at the COVID clinic to allow them to escape government lockdown rules and travel abroad. So to translate that quickly, more or less, obviously, if people wanted to travel abroad, you needed passes, you needed records, and you need to show you had the vaccine because obviously a lot of countries were like vaccine, can't enter without a vaccine. So these men have obviously falsified records for people, and it said that they were selling for £250 each. So these men were selling fake COVID passes, £250, so you can travel during lockdown when obviously the country was on lockdown. So smart business idea if you ask me though. And here's obviously the images: Muhammad Ahmed, Rakibul Islam, and Hakeem Walters, Chino. So before I fully, break down the case, go into what they were charged for, etc., etc., we'll do a little bit of background on Chino. Let's go, yeah, Chino. Had to check everything's running smoothly, but yeah, cool. So Chino, first of all, Chino. So Chino is a rapper. I'm not sure what part of London he's from, but I know he's from London. You get me? He's from London. I know this. He's got links with Rimsey. Um, you know, Rimsey even posted. Here we go. Rimsey even posted. Chino, free Chino.
Come up by myself. I was buying.
So he must have obviously been like a close friend of Rimsey or from Rimsey's block. Because that's how I know of Chino. Me personally, I've never listened to Chino's music, but I saw who he was through his like association with Rimsey, and I just thought, you know what, my man's image is cold, like I rock with his image, and you get me. I've heard like his music like on snippets or on my Snapchat and stuff, but I've never actually gone on YouTube or Spotify and listened to a whole Chino song. But now I will. Ironic, he's in jail now. Now I'm gonna support him. Hey, that's how people work at it. But like, I knew he was a cold rapper, but I'd never actually listened to his music. Anyway, so that's Chino, and I heard as well he's the boyfriend of hairstylist Aaliyah the Goat. Show you know who Aaliyah the Goat is quickly. Aaliyah the Goat. She's a successful hairstylist, I'm sure. Something along those lines. But I know she makes bread though. I'm pretty sure I saw like a TikTok where she broke down how much she makes just off one wig. It was mad. But this is Aaliyah the Goat. Um, yeah. So she's an entrepreneur, does hair, I think. Yeah. So that's his girlfriend anyway, or partner. Not too sure. But yeah, cool. So that's Chino. Uh, anyway, let's break down the case further. So to the case. So, as it says, they falsified 1,648 vaccine records relating to 847 individuals. They did so for profit. And obviously, the article said they made up to 412k. There's probably way more that's not accounted for. And I don't actually think these guys was genuine administrators. Obviously, these men had to cover their tracks in some way. You know what I mean? These men had to cover their tracks while working for the NHS. If I check Chino's YouTube history, shit. Let's go on his YouTube rapid. Go on his YouTube. He look like no NHS administrator for me. Rich, not famous 2 years ago. Yeah, 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 no. He ain't no goddamn administrator. Obviously, you never know. Some people have got a Liz job and they do what they do on the side, so that doesn't mean so. But it's obviously it was more type of fraud. You get me? More type of fraud. But anyway, back to the case. So as you can see, Muhammad Ahmed, Rakibul Islam, and Hakeem Waters, Chino. So boom, let's go a bit further down. So it says here. Now we're gonna break down what actually happened. Mr. Islam, the guy in the middle, who's works for NHS, he had access to the national immunization vaccination system, and he sold his login to Mr. Ahmed, the first guy, for a grand. And then from there, um, they had access, and I was looking at the sentences. As you can see, Mr. Islam, the guy in the middle, he was sentenced to 1 year, whereas Chino and Ahmed were sentenced to 4 years each. So that just shows you Islam more time facilitated the login, and then Chino and Mohammed got busy. You know what I'm saying? They got busy. They got busy. But yeah, pretty much. There's not really. It wasn't really too much in this article. It just said that they sold false records. A bit of um a bit of comments from the judge. What is it, which is what the judges say when they're reading out sentencing. They explain. They condemn the criminals, etc. And yeah. So anyway, so I was looking. What have they been? What did they actually get convicted with? And at the bottom of the article, it says they all admitted conspiracy to commit fraud by false representation and conspiracy to cause a computer to perform function with intent. So I did a bit of googling because everything's on the internet. You get me? So I googled conspiracy to commit fraud, and that came up with this article by a lawyer by a law firm. Anyway, cool. So that conspiracy to commit fraud by misrepresentation falls under the Fraud Act 2006. And if we continue to scroll down here, this article says the Fraud Act 2006 introduced fraud as a single offence which can be committed in three ways: fraud by false representation, fraud by failing to disclose information, and fraud by abuse of position. So I assume, yeah, that Chino and Mr. Mohammed Ahmed were done by fraud by false representation, and that crime requires someone to make a gain for himself and also cause loss to another or expose another to a risk of loss. Yeah, pretty much. That's just the meat and drink of the you get me, of the crime. And if I go up an article, um, something that the judge has said in sentencing is that the damage occasioned to the wider public. So there wasn't an actual victim of the crime, but the damage was caused to the wider public due to the financial, like, people. These men are enabling people to scam their way and go on holiday when the rest of the country is in lockdown. Like, you know what I mean? That kind of behavior does not sit well with the government, with Regina and Rex. You know what I'm saying? So cool. So yeah, that's obviously the first crime: um, conspiracy to commit fraud. And I think let's see if it talks about the sentencing. Doesn't talk about sentencing, but obviously, I think it was like 2 3 years, something like that. The max. We're wrong. Anyway, and then the next crime, computer. The next crime which they were charged with, which was the conspiracy to cause a computer to perform a function, that falls under the Computer Misuse Act. Yeah, Computer Misuse Act. Yeah, and pretty much the offences: unauthorized access to a computer material, section 1. Section 2, unauthorized access with intent to commit or facilitate commission of further offences. And I assume this is what these men was charged with, and the maximum penalty is 5 years. So that's the max, but I guess there's mitigating factors, aggravating factors, whatever. But cool. So as I said, Chino and Mr. Islam were given 4 years. No, Chino and Ahmed were given 4 years, and Mr. Islam was given 1 year. Interesting though. Interesting. Because that's a very, very smart way to make money. These man was charging 250 a pop for people to get fake COVID-19 certificates so they could travel and um have jobs that required proof of vaccination. Interesting because of interesting, very interesting. But um these ain't the first man who's doing COVID scams. And if you know, you know, there's a lot of government, there's a lot of friends of government who are involved in certain scams as well. Let me break down one for you. Michelle Moan, she is an aristocrat. She's a conservative member of the House of Lords. Her and her husband are involved in a multi-million COVID PPE scam where they made 60 to 70 million pounds from the scam, and they still ain't been done for it. Let's break down her article as well, because true say when it's the man them trying to make money through these ways, it's bare scrutiny. But when it's friends of the government, it just gets swept under the rug. But let's break down Michelle Moan. So Michelle Moan and what PPE deals was she involved in? This is by Guardian. So Michelle Moan, the former Conservative peer, Michelle Moan and her husband Doug Barrowman have for the first time acknowledged that he made multi-million pound profits from two PPE deals during the COVID pandemic. Let's go into this timeline because I had both of them. So cool. So they were um they were involved with a company named PPE MedPro. As you can see here, a newly formed company, and Michelle recommended PPE MedPro to the government. And believe it, these men just dished 200 mil worth of contracts to a newly formed company. 200 mil. Chai. Man needs some friends or governments because, yo, if you could just start something, little startup, and you get £200 million job like that, yo, these aristocrats and friends of government have it nice. They have it nice. So, May and June 2020, the government awarded PPE MedPro um, two contracts, one for 80 mil, first contract 80 mil to supply 210 million face masks, and the second was 122 million to supply 25 meter million. I assume 210 was million, but let's say million. 25 million sterile surgical gowns. Mad. Yeah, mad. And as part of the transparency rules over public spending, the government published PPE MedPro contracts. There were evident links with Moan and Barrowman's Isle of Man financial services. So, anyway, let me not drag this video out because it's for Chino, but I'm just highlighting that Chino and his camp weren't the only ones that were doing these kind of scams. So, as you can see here, the contracts were processed via the VIP lane, given high priority to fast track PPE offers for companies introduced by people with connections from the government. Mad, mad. And to wrap this little segment up quickly, more or less, this lady, Michelle Moon, her and her husband set up a company or had links to a company, got £200 million, £200 million contracts, made 60 million off the contract's profit, transferred these profits offshore to an offshore account where their kids and them are the beneficiaries of the account. Mad, mad, shady. But all now because they've got the bread, they can kind of fight. They can kind of fight off the allegations. They're being pursued by the NCA, so we'll see how that comes into fruition. But yeah, man, Chino and his camp, 412k ran up of COVID scams. Crazy, man, crazy. They got 4 years, probably do half. Maybe he's been in remand. We don't know. We don't know. Obviously, he's not the biggest rapper, so things like this happening in his life are not going to be mad documented, or there's not going to be people leaking that he's in jail or whatever. Because, quite frankly, the majority of the rap community don't care. So I care, but you know what I'm saying. It's not news worth reporting. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, man, there's obviously a lot of loopholes with this COVID-19, and a lot of people found their way how to make their money on, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, 4 years, he'll be out in no time soon. He's 29. He'll probably be back out when he's 31. And hopefully he don't get himself nabbed again, man. But yeah, Mazza, Mazza. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This one's a different one, a bit more insightful. a bit more educational as well, letting you know the legislation and things like that. Obviously, I'm talking on these things because man's got a law degree, you get me, from a Russell Group uni, so or that kind of, I understand how to read the law and etc. etc. So, but listen, it's been your boy Urban. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I see you in the next video. Love.